Yeah, yes. To answer your first question, yes. I had called. We had some problems, obviously because of the, tension between Chris Benoit and Kevin Sullivan. There was some concern when WCW announced that Kevin Sullivan was going to be the booker, and we went in as a group to talk, to inquire, to pretty much make sure that our faction wasn't going to be hammered because, of that personality conflict, if there was one at that time, between Kevin and Chris. So when we were told that there were no guarantees of that in so many words, Terry Taylor, who was working at WWF at the time, and I had a long history with Terry at that point, and I left the meeting, and literally the phone was right outside. The payphone was right outside the door of where we were having the meeting in the Cincinnati arena. And I called Terry Taylor and told him what was going on and asked him if there would be any interest in bringing the group of us in. And Terry said he asked me to let him call me back, and I did. He called back several minutes later and said that Vince was interested in bringing us all in, and now that's a sort of ubiquitous statement because if I want to bring in at minimum wage, probably none of us are interested. So just saying that alone is not a guarantee that we're all just going to jump in a car or a plane and fly up or drive up to Connecticut. And the very next day we were in Columbus, Ohio for a TV taping. We were all in catering when we were all gathered up. Security came and got each one of us and took us to the office, where we were told in pretty direct, straightforward fashion, that, we were being sent home until, they could get to the bottom of it. There was a pending investigation and blah, 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 that kind of stuff. Well, we got back to the hotel at the Columbus airport, and we all went back and packed our bags. It was in the evening. It was pretty late. We all met downstairs in the restaurant and had a few bottles of wine, at which point I told the other guys at the table, look, this is how Vince McMahon operates. He divides to conquer. So we either stick together or we all sink together. It's one or the other. And we all shook on it. We all had a sip of wine on it. Everybody agreed to that. And within a couple days, I had gotten a phone call from Bruce Pritchard asking me, apparently as the figurehead, talking for everybody, what it was we were looking for to come. And I said, well, we really can't say, until you make us an offer. And he said, well, we can't make you an offer until we know you're out of your contracts in WCW. And I laughed and I said, Bruce, you and I both know you and I can't be talking right now, but we are. So tell Vince we need to know what we're talking about number-wise, or we can't talk any further. And that was, I believe, on Wednesday. I believe it was Saturday of that same week, I get a phone call from Vince Russo asking me where I was. And I told him I was at home, and he said, are you sure about that? Which is sort of an odd answer, to that kind of response. And I said, well, you want to talk to my wife? And he said, no, I believe it. But he said, the reason I'm asking is I just got a phone call from I believe it was the Ramada Inn in Stamford, Connecticut, had called him and said that his boys were checking in. And when you said his boys to Vince Russo, he meant the Revolution. And so he asked me where everybody else was. And I said, let me call you right back. I'll tell you in a second. So we hung up, and I called Dean Malenko, who I was closest with in the group because we'd known each other the longest. He answered the phone on the first ring and assured me multiple times that he was at his beach house in Florida with Julie, his wife, and Larissa, his daughter. I called Vince Russo back immediately, and I said, I can't speak for anybody else, but I placed my bet in my life that Dean Malenko's in Florida with his wife and daughter. Several minutes passed, and he called back and said, I don't want to call anybody a liar, but I just spoke to my contact again at the Ramada Inn, and I'm 99% positive the Ramada Inn, that they said that they were all checking in or checked in to the Ramada. So at that point, he said, well, it's easy enough to figure this out. Just call the Ramada and ask to be rung through to each person's room, which I did. After about an hour of waiting, I sat there. I felt guilty because I didn't believe my friends. And so I hesitated. My ex-wife, who was pregnant at the time with our oldest son, after going through 8 years of infertility treatments, she said, if you call and they're not there, only you and I know you made that call. Well, that makes sense. So I called. And when I called, I started down the list on the top of my head. I said, is Chris Benoit there? Checked in. Turns out the person who answered the phone was a big wrestling fan. So it was more than eager to give me information. And they said, yeah, Chris Benoit checked in 2 hours ago, an hour ago, whatever it was. I said, how about Perry Satullo? And they said, yep, Perry's checked in an hour ago. Again, whatever time frame it was. And when I got to Dean Malenko, the person said, no Dean Malenko. Dean hasn't checked in. And so for a second, there was a respite that I believed my friend. And just as I got ready to, and I felt great about that I hadn't been lied to. It wasn't 30 seconds and we're getting ready to hang the phone up, and it popped into my head that when Dean wanted to kayfabe, he would use his shoot name, which is Shelly Simon. And I said, do you have any Simons checked in? And the guy punched up the computer and he said, yeah, but it's a woman. I said, is it Shelly Simon by chance? Yeah, how'd you know? And I literally felt like the weight dropped out from under me. You know, that why would he lie to me? That's the first thing. Secondly, why did he lie to me and think I wouldn't find it out? Second thing. And the third thing that popped into my head is Vince did exactly what I warned them about, that he would divide and conquer, try to slice us down the middle. And, so that just started an odyssey with WCW legal for me. I had never requested a release from WCW. And, for some period of time, put a wedge between me and my former friends.
Now, did you ever talk to Dean after the fact and kind of get the story about why he lied and what that was all about?
Yeah, about a month after that all happened, he sent me a letter and, trying to explain why they did what they did. And it's sort of like, hearing somebody like, if I were to sleep with your wife tonight, you call me and confront me on it. And a month from now, I send you a letter and say, hey, JP, I hope you don't feel bad about me sleeping with your wife, but here's why I did that. There is no explanation that I can give that makes that proper. And, without getting into the nuts and bolts of it here, because we've since, put it behind us, his answers didn't quite any more than mine with your wife would do. assuage my anger. And there were several years where none of us talked because of that. And, you know, it was sometime after that before we ended up catching back up again. And, you know, in my mind at that time, I put it behind me as this is the wrestling business. You know, you should have expected it. But that answer only takes you so far because, like, to me, my friendship isn't predicated that I'm somebody that wrestles with somebody or in the same industry with somebody. I'm somebody's friend on a personal level. And, you know, but like I said, just for the sake of everybody, I just decided to put it behind us and move forward. And, you know, thankful that happened not long before the whole Chris Benoit debacle happened. That shocked all of us.